Welcome to Dreams of Antiquity. Here, we journey through quiet moments of the ancient world, where time moves slowly, and each step carries us gently toward rest. Let these stories wrap around you, like a soft breeze, guiding you into peaceful sleep. Relax. Settle in. Tonight, we follow the quiet footsteps of Nicholas, a marble carver from ancient Greece, as he walks the winding roads toward a distant temple. Along the way, we'll move through peaceful villages, silent olive groves, and the soft hum of the countryside. Breathe deeply. Let your thoughts slow. The journey has already begun. The year is 356 BC. Across the scattered lands of ancient Greece, great city-states rise and fall like the tides. But here, along the quiet coast, far from the noise of Athenian markets or Spartan drills, the world moves slowly. Time feels thick, like honey dripping from a wooden spoon, and life is measured, not in battles or conquests, but in the steady rhythm of days. Stone houses with sun-bleached walls lean gently against one another. Olive trees, old as memory, stretch their gnarled branches over winding dirt paths. The sea hums in the distance, a soft and constant breath. It is a time before clocks, before the rush of schedules. The mornings belong to the birds, the afternoons to the shade, and the nights to the flicker of oil lamps and stories whispered under stars. Nicholas, the stone cutter, rose with the first pale light. His small home, perched near the edge of the village, still clung to the chill of the night. The thin wool blanket slipped from his shoulders as he sat up, his joints creaking softly in the quiet. He moved slowly, not from age, but from a deliberate sort of patience, the kind that comes from years of carving marble, one careful stroke at a time. The task ahead was simple, though not small. He would carry a statue, a gift for the temple in the hills, a journey that would take him across fields, along the olive road, and through mountain paths. There was no urgency. The priests would be waiting whenever he arrived. Nicholas liked that about his work. The stone never hurried him, and neither did those who asked for it. He knelt beside the wrapped figure, resting in the corner of his home. The marble was smooth, cool to the touch, its weight familiar. He had spent weeks shaping it, a figure of Selene, goddess of the moon, her face calm, her eyes gently closed. Even now, in the soft morning light, the lines of her robe seemed to ripple, as if stirred by some silent breeze. Nicholas carefully wrapped the statue in layers of cloth, thick enough to protect, but not so tight as to smother the stone. The linen smelled faintly of olive oil and sea salt. He tied the bundle with a leather cord pausing to run his thumb along the knot, testing its strength. Outside, the village began to stir. Wooden shutters creaked open. The soft bleating of goats echoed between stone walls. Somewhere a woman called to her child, her voice warm and unhurried, slipping his sandals onto his calloused feet. Nicholas stepped out into the morning. The sky was painted in soft pastels, blush pink melting into pale blue, while the sea shimmered gently at the horizon. He filled a small satchel with bread, a handful of figs, and a clay flask of cool water, slung it over his shoulder, and began his walk. The path through the village was familiar beneath his feet. Stones worn smooth by years of passing steps, pressed up from the earth like scattered bones. He walked slowly, his sandals whispering against the dusty ground. An old neighbour, Ione, sat weaving a basket by her doorway. She lifted her hand in a quiet greeting, and Nicholas returned it with a nod and a soft smile. "Off to the hills?" she asked, her voice low, as if not to disturb the sleepy air. "Yes," he answered gently. "The temple at Aegeon. They wait for Selene." "A long road, but a good one," Ione mused, her fingers threading reeds with practiced grace. "May the goddess watch your steps." Nicholas offered a soft thank you and continued on, the weight of the marble pressing comfortably against his back. The path led him past olive groves, their silver green leaves trembling in the faint morning breeze. Bees moved lazily among wildflowers, their soft hum trailing in the air. Nicholas paused now and then, not because he was tired, but because the world was too lovely to hurry past. He admired the delicate way the sunlight caught on dew-covered grass, the slow bend of tree branches heavy with fruit, the scent of fresh bread drifting from a distant hearth. Time blurred as he walked. The village faded behind him, replaced by the wide, open hush of the countryside. Stone walls lined the road in uneven patterns, some crumbling, others still strong. Birds called to one another from the trees, their songs, simple and sweet. Nicholas let his mind wander as his feet carried him forward. He thought about his work, the steady carving, the rough edges slowly giving way to smooth curves, the quiet satisfaction of watching stone come alive beneath his hands. He thought about the journey ahead, the familiar bends in the road, the mountain pass that would welcome him in a few days. And he thought about Selene, the goddess of the moon, how her pale light touched the sea and the stones alike. The day warmed gently as the sun climbed, but the pace remained soft, unhurried. Nicholas stopped by a small spring, its water bubbling quietly over smooth rocks. He knelt, splashing his face, savouring the cool touch against his skin. Sitting beneath the shade of an ancient fig tree, he tore a piece of bread and chewed slowly, listening to the breeze, the birds, the distant murmur of the sea. There was no rush. The temple would still be there tomorrow, and the road would carry him as long as he wished to walk it. He rested for a while longer, then rose, dusted his hands, and resumed his journey. The statue of Selene, resting safely against his back, the soft rhythm of his steps blending with the peaceful hum of the ancient land. And so Nicholas walked on, toward the olive road, toward the hills, toward the next quiet chapter of his simple, patient story. By late morning, the village had vanished. Behind Nicholas, like a faint memory, only the soft crunch of his sandals on the worn path and the distant rustle of olive branches kept him company now. The road stretched before him, long and familiar, carved gently into the hills like a vein winding through the body of the land. It was called the Olive Road, not because it was paved, but because it meandered endlessly through groves that had stood for generations, their roots tangled deep in the dry earth. The air here was rich, with the scent of sun-warm leaves and ripening fruit. Bees hovered lazily, their hum a soft, golden thread weaving through the silence. Nicholas let his fingers brush along the low branches as he passed, his touch light, as if not to disturb the trees. The olive road didn't demand much. It rose and fell in slow, thoughtful waves, offering a rhythm that matched the pace of his breathing. It was the kind of path that invited wandering, the kind that allowed the mind to stretch out and drift like clouds over a summer sky. As he walked, Nicholas passed weathered stone markers, their carved letters worn smooth by time and rain. They stood like quiet sentinels, half-remembered messages from travellers, long gone. Some leaned crookedly, as though tired from centuries of standing. The sun climbed higher, but the dense canopy of the olive trees draped the road in soft, dappled shade. Light slipped through in quiet patches, warming his shoulders, and fading again as the branches swayed gently in the breeze. Ahead, Nicholas noticed a man kneeling in the dirt, tending to a row of young vines. His straw hat drooped low, his hands moving slowly over the soil, patting it down with tender care. A small wooden cart sat nearby, half filled with freshly picked figs. As Nicholas approached, the man looked up, his face lined but kind. His smile came easily, as though greeting a familiar friend. "Traveller," the man called softly. "Come, rest your feet. The road is long, and the sun is generous today." Nicholas paused, grateful for the offer. "Thank you," he said, his voice quiet but warm. He set the statue down carefully, resting it against the base of an olive tree, and lowered himself onto a flat stone. The man handed him a handful of figs soft and sweet, their skin just beginning to crack. "I'm called Theodoros," the farmer said, his gaze steady but gentle. "I tend these trees, though they mostly tend themselves now." "Nicholas," he replied, biting into a fig and savouring its honeyed flavour. The juices ran down his thumb, sticky and fragrant. They sat together in easy silence, the kind that needs no filling. Theodoros spoke now and then, small stories of the land, of quiet rains that kissed the fields, of the slow patience of growing things. "Do you know," Theodoros said, "an olive tree doesn't hurry. It takes its time to bear fruit, to grow strong, to outlast us all. It teaches us to wait." Nicholas smiled softly, his eyes tracing the delicate flicker of sunlight on the leaves. "Stone is like that too. It reveals itself only to those who wait." Theodoros chuckled, a low, pleasant sound. "Then you and the trees are old friends, I think." They shared bread and more figs, letting the afternoon drift lazily around them. Cicadas buzzed in the distance, their song a steady, gentle drone that filled the air like a warm blanket. When Nicholas rose to continue, Theodoros offered him a flask of water and a quiet blessing. "May the road be kind beneath your feet," he said, his voice low and soft. "And may your trees grow patient and tall," Nicholas replied, his hand resting briefly on Theodoros's shoulder in thanks. The olive road stretched on, winding through sunlit groves and over soft hills. Nicholas walked at the same easy pace, his footsteps blending with the rhythm of the land. He passed shepherds guiding their flocks, their voices soft as they called to their dogs. He crossed a narrow stream where dragonflies skimmed the surface, their wings catching the light like shards of glass. Each step felt less like travel and more like a gentle unfolding, as though the world itself was laying the path before him, one quiet stone at a time. By late afternoon, the sky had deepened into a soft gold, and the breeze had cooled. Nicholas stopped by a small grove where the branches arched low, creating a pocket of perfect shade. He sat, leaned against the smooth trunk of an olive tree, and unwrapped a piece of bread. The crust crackled faintly in his hands, the interior still soft. He ate slowly, savouring each bite, listening to the quiet pulse of the countryside. Insects murmured, leaves whispered. The marble statue, still wrapped in its linen, rested against his pack like a silent companion. As the day began its slow descent toward evening, Nicholas allowed himself to linger, his gaze drifting toward the hills that waited in the distance. There was no rush, no pressing need to reach the temple quickly. The journey was the purpose, the walking, the resting, the noticing. All of it was the story. The olive road would carry him gently forward, and he would follow, step by step, breath by breath, letting the softness of the day settle into his bones. And so he remained there a while longer, resting in the shade as the sun dipped lower and the air grew cooler, the ancient land wrapping him in its quiet embrace. The hills rose before Nicholas like quiet sleeping giants, their slopes worn smooth by wind and time. The olive road, so familiar and gentle, began to narrow as it climbed, its edges softened by wild grasses and low stone walls that had long since begun to crumble. The air here tasted different, thinner, cooler, touched by the distant breath of the mountains. Nicholas walked slowly, each step measured, as though the earth itself asked him to tread softly. The weight of the marble statue pressed steadily against his back, but it was a comfort now, like the firm presence of an old friend. The sound of the sea had faded behind him, replaced by the gentle rustle of tall grass and the faint trickle of hidden streams that slipped quietly over stone. Every so often, a soft gust of wind would stir the branches above, their leaves shivering with a delicate hush. The world felt larger here, but also more still, as though the mountains, in their ancient wisdom, had long ago decided to speak only in whispers. Nicholas paused often now, not out of weariness, but because the land asked him to. He paused to watch a bird glide effortlessly across the pale sky. He paused to run his hand along a stone marker, half buried in moss, its carvings worn to gentle curves. He paused to listen to the quiet. Further along the path, he found a small grove where wildflowers bloomed in soft clusters of violet and pale yellow. Their petals trembled gently in the breeze, their scents light and sweet. Nicholas knelt beside them, tracing their slender stems with his fingertips. Careful not to crush them, he breathed in their delicate fragrance, savouring the simplicity of the moment. The path rose gradually, winding through the low hills. As he climbed, the sounds of the world grew softer. Even the buzzing of insects seemed to fade, replaced by the faint murmur of distant water. Nicholas followed the sound, drawn to its quiet promise. Soon he came upon a narrow stream, its water clear and cold as it slipped over smooth stones, carving a lazy line through the earth. He set down his satchel, loosened the straps of the marble, and sat by the stream's edge. The water gurgled softly, a sound both lively and soothing, like a lullaby told by the mountains themselves. Nicholas cupped his hands, scooping the cold water, letting it trickle slowly through his fingers. He drank in small sips, savouring the clean taste, then dipped his hands again. Watching the way the sunlight danced in ripples across his palms. He sat there for some time, resting his back against a large, warm stone. The breeze moved slowly over him, brushing the curls of his dark hair, tugging gently at the edges of his linen cloak. He tore off a piece of bread, ate it without hurry, and pulled a few remaining figs from his satchel. Their soft skin yielded easily beneath his thumb, sweet and sticky against his tongue. In the quiet, his mind wandered, not toward worry or memory, but into the soft spaces between thoughts. He watched the way the clouds shifted lazily across the sky. He listened to the faint tapping of a branch against stone. He felt the steady pull of the earth beneath him, holding him, steadying him. He closed his eyes for a while, letting the sounds of the stream, the breeze, and the distant call of a mountain bird fill the space around him. When he rose again, the path ahead seemed even softer, more dreamlike. The light had begun to mellow, brushing the hillsides with a golden hue. Shadows stretched long and gentle across the road. Nicholas continued, his steps unhurried, his breath slow and steady. He passed low stone terraces where goats grazed quietly, their bells chiming softly in the distance. An old wooden fence leaned tiredly against itself, its slats cracked but still standing. The mountain air smelled of thyme and sun-warmed stone. It wrapped around him like a soft cloak, light and comforting. The sky deepened, not yet evening, but leaning toward it, as though the day itself was ready to slow down. Nicholas found another resting place, a flat stone beneath a crooked fig tree, its trunk bent as though bowing toward the earth. He sat again, allowing the stillness to settle over him. He watched a line of ants weave carefully around small pebbles, their movements precise, their purpose gentle but sure. The marble statue rested beside him, its linen wrap dappled with the soft, shifting light. He placed his hand on the bundle, feeling the faint coolness of the stone beneath the fabric. A quiet connection between his journey and his craft. Here, in the hush of the mountain path, the world moved in long, slow breaths. Nicholas leaned back, his eyes half closed, his mind floating lazily between the steady beat of his heart and the soft music of the breeze. There was no need to measure the distance left. The road would unfold as it wished, and he would follow, step by quiet step, until he reached the shepherd's camp and the slow, glowing embers waiting for him there. But for now, there was only this moment. The stream, the stone, the warm bread in his hands, and the peaceful hum of the ancient land, wrapping itself gently around him. As the sun drifted lower, spilling gold across the gentle hills, Nicholas felt the pull of evening settling softly over the land. Shadows stretched longer now, their edges blurred, as though the world itself was beginning to exhale. The path curved gently along the hillside, worn smooth by years of careful footsteps and the quiet passing of animals. The olive road had faded behind him, leaving only a narrow trail brushed by tall grass and the occasional scatter of wild thyme beneath his sandals. The mountain air was cooler here, tinged with the faint scent of wood smoke, delicate and inviting. It was not long before he saw it, a faint glow flickering through the trees, a steady column of smoke rising, slow and lazy against the deepening sky. The soft bleating of sheep drifted on the breeze, carried like a lullaby toward him. Nicholas approached carefully, his steps quiet against the earth, though there was no need for caution here. The shepherd's camp was small, simple, a circle of flat stones, arranged around a crackling fire. A pot rested over the flames, its contents bubbling gently, sending a warm, savoury scent curling into the air. The shepherd, a man with kind, time-worn eyes, looked up as Nicholas arrived. His face broke into a slow smile, as if welcoming a friend he had been expecting. "You've come at a good time," the shepherd said, his voice low and soft, like the rustle of leaves at dusk. "The soup is nearly ready." Nicholas lowered his bundle carefully beside the fire, unburdening himself with a grateful sigh. He offered a quiet nod. "It smells like it's been waiting for me." The shepherd chuckled softly, stirring the pot with a wooden spoon. "The mountain always knows who is coming. Sit, rest. The road is long." Nicholas eased himself onto one of the flat stones, its surface still faintly warm from the lingering sun. He let the stillness settle over him like a soft blanket. The fire crackled gently, its orange glow dancing across the shepherd's weathered face. Around them the sheep moved slowly, the bells chiming in soft, irregular patterns. Some rested near the fire, their breathing slow and steady, their wool catching the last glimmers of light. The shepherd ladled the soup into simple clay bowls, passing one to Nicholas with a quiet gesture. They ate without rush, savouring the warmth, the soft texture of lentils and barley, the faint salt of the broth. For a while, they sat in comfortable silence, their breathing and the crackle of the fire the only sounds between them. As the sky deepened to violet, the shepherd spoke, his words unhurried, his tone as gentle as the wind. "When I was a boy, my father told me that every stone carries a story, not just the ones we carve, but even the ones we step over and never notice. Nicholas listened, spoon resting in his bowl, the firelight reflecting in his thoughtful gaze. My father would sit by the fire like this, the shepherd continued, and tell me that the stones remember everything. The soft rain, the heavy feet of travellers, the long silence of forgotten paths. He said that when we walk, the stones listen. Nicholas smiled faintly, his fingers trailing over a nearby pebble. Then I've told many stories today. You have, the shepherd agreed, and the stones have heard them all. The night unfolded slowly around them. The stars began to prick through the velvet sky. Their light soft, their presence steady. The breeze grew cooler, carrying the scent of pine and distant salt from the sea far below. The shepherd added a few more twigs to the fire, the flames crackling softly in response. Tell me of your journey, the shepherd said, his voice low, as though the mountains themselves might be listening. Nicholas spoke quietly, sharing the simple rhythm of his days, the carving of Selene, the soft hum of the olive road, the gentle company of Theodoros, the fig farmer. His words were slow, meandering, like the path he had walked. The shepherd listened, nodding now and then, his hands resting loosely around his bowl. When Nicholas fell silent, the shepherd began to share his own stories. Not of grand events or distant cities, but of quiet things, of mornings wrapped in mist, of following sheep through hidden paths, of nights when the wind carried the scent of rain long before the storm arrived. His stories came like waves, soft and slow, until even the fire seemed to settle into a gentle rhythm, its crackling now a quiet murmur. Nicholas felt his body grow heavier, the warmth of the soup and the fire settling deep into his bones. His breath slowed, matching the steady rise and fall of the shepherd's voice. The sheep, too, had grown still, their small, dark shapes resting close, their breathing soft and even. The shepherd's final story was barely more than a whisper, a tale of an old olive tree, twisted and hollow, that had stood for centuries, its branches offering shade to travellers who needed rest. Nicholas closed his eyes, picturing the tree, its roots deep, its leaves rustling softly against a sky brushed with starlight. The story faded into the quiet, and for a while there was only the fire, the sheep, the slow, steady breathing of two men, sharing the hush of the mountains. The night deepened, wrapping them both in its cool, gentle embrace. There was no hurry now. The road could wait. The temple would wait. The stones, the sky, the sleeping sheep, all of them content to linger in this soft pocket of time. Nicholas let his head bow, his eyes drifting shut. The quiet hum of the shepherd's camp, settling around him like a lullaby. And in the peace of that slow burning fire, the world turned softly, gently, waiting for the next quiet step. The morning came quietly. Nicholas woke to the faint warmth of early sunlight brushing against his face, soft and pale as the inside of a fig. The fire had faded to a cradle of glowing embers, and the sheep had already begun their slow wandering along the hillside, their bells chiming faintly. In the cool air, the shepherd was gone, his footprints a soft trail leading away from the camp, swallowed gently by the grass. Nicholas rose slowly, feeling the pull of sleep still in his bones. He gathered his satchel and carefully lifted the marble statue, the familiar weight settling against his back like a trusted companion. He stood for a while beside the quiet stones of the camp, breathing in the morning, letting the hush of the mountains fill his chest. There was no hurry. The temple would be waiting. The path curved steadily upward now, winding through low ridges where small round stones nestled against each other like sleeping birds. The higher he climbed, the softer the world became. The breeze, the birdsong, the crunch of his sandals against the earth, all of it seemed quiet, as though the mountains were inviting him to step gently, to move as softly as the dawn itself. The temple appeared slowly, like a dream easing into focus. First the white curve of its stone roof, catching the morning light, then the tall columns, smooth and pale, standing like sentries on the hill. It was smaller than he had imagined. No grand marble stairs, no bustling priests, just a simple structure nestled among the olive trees, its stones warmed by centuries of quiet sun. Nicholas crossed the final stretch of the path, his breath steady, his steps slow and deliberate. He approached the temple with a quiet reverence, as though the building itself were asleep, and he did not wish to wake it. The courtyard was empty. A few clay pots lined the edge of the stone platform, their sides chipped, but their purpose unchanged. The wooden door stood open, its hinges soft and worn. Nicholas stepped inside. The air was cool and still, wrapped in the faint scent of oil lamps and old wood. Thin streams of sunlight slipped through narrow windows, settling in pale pools on the stone floor. His footsteps echoed softly, each one fading into the deep hush that clung to the walls. There were no voices, no footsteps of priests, only the gentle presence of the temple itself. At the far end, beneath a wide archway, stood the place prepared for Selene, a low stone pedestal, its surface smooth and waiting. Nicholas moved toward it, his hands steady as he untied the leather cords and unwrapped the linen. The folds fell away like soft waves, revealing the marble figure, Selena, her face serene, her eyes gently closed, as if she too had just awoken from a quiet dream. He lifted the statue and placed it carefully on the pedestal, adjusting it with small, thoughtful movements until it settled into its rightful place. He simply stood there, his fingertips resting lightly against a cool stone, feeling the memory of his work, the hours of carving, the soft tap of the chisel, the gentle dust that had clung to his skin. The silence of the temple wrapped around him. Thick and soft as wool, he let his breathing slow, each inhale filling him with the calm of the space, each exhale releasing the weight of the journey. A faint breeze slipped through the doorway behind him, stirring the linen that now lay folded in his arms. The olive trees outside rustled quietly, their leaves brushing against one another in soft conversation. Nicholas stepped back, lowering himself onto a smooth stone bench near the entrance. He leaned into its curve, resting his back, letting his shoulders soften. From where he sat, he could see the statue bathed in the gentle morning light. Selena's marble face, forever calm, forever still, seemed to watch the drifting dust in the air, the slow passing of the sun's rays across the stone floor. Nicholas pulled the last of his bread from his satchel and ate it slowly, each bite soft and quiet, as though time itself had slowed to meet him here. He sipped the cool water from his clay flask, savouring the weight of it in his hands, the smooth curve of the cup against his lips. The world beyond the temple felt distant now, softened by the walls and the trees and the long, peaceful journey behind him. There was nothing left to do, no task waiting, no step to take, just a quiet stone, the steady breath of the earth, the slow drift of sunlight across marble. Nicholas leaned his head back, his gaze resting on the beams of the wooden ceiling, the soft flicker of dust dancing lazily in the light. His eyes grew heavy, his breathing slow, and the silence of the temple welcomed him, held him, wrapped him in its deep, gentle stillness. And in that quiet, where the past and present blurred, where stone and breath and memory became one, Nicholas allowed himself to rest. The temple stood quiet behind him, its pale stones slowly warming beneath the tender hands of the sun. Nicholas had stayed for some time in the silence, his body resting against the cool bench, his breath soft and steady, as if the temple itself had asked him to linger a little longer. When he finally rose, he stepped outside into the gentle embrace of the morning. The breeze was lighter now, moving lazily through the branches of the olive trees that lined the courtyard. Their leaves shimmered softly, turning like tiny silver coins in the sunlight. The path that had carried him here curved away, winding slowly down the hill toward the sea. Though Nicholas had no desire to follow it just yet. He found a small stone bench near the edge of the courtyard, shaded by a wide olive tree with a thick, twisting trunk, its roots pushed gently through the earth, steady and sure, as if they had been waiting for him. Nicholas sat, allowing the weight of his satchel to slide from his shoulder, its empty folds resting quietly at his side. The world around him had grown even softer now. The distant hum of bees drifting lazily among the flowers, the faint clink of a shepherd's bell far below in the hills, the slow, rhythmic creak of the olive branches as they swayed in the breeze. Each sound arrived like a gentle breath, rising and falling, steady as the heartbeat of the land. Nicholas reached into his satchel and pulled out the last of his figs. Their skin was soft and wrinkled, their sweetness ripened by the slow passage of days. He ate them one by one, savouring their tender flesh, their honeyed taste, each bite slowing him further into the softness of the moment. There was nothing pulling him forward now. No place to be. No task waiting for his hands. He leaned back against the tree, feeling the texture of its bark against his shoulder, the solid weight of its roots beneath him. His gaze drifted upward, tracing the delicate lace of leaves against the pale sky, watching the slow dance of light filtering through. His mind moved like the breeze, slow, meandering, unhurried. He thought of the olive road, of the quiet conversations, the warm bread, the spring-fed stream with its smooth, glistening stones. He thought of the shepherd's stories, the soft crackling of the fire, the gentle rise and fall of distant bells. And he thought of the marble statue, now resting in the hush of the temple, its stone face forever calm, forever still. The journey felt like a soft dream now, each step a quiet ripple fading into the distance. Nicholas let his eyelids grow heavy, the weight of the day settling comfortably in his bones. His breathing slowed, deepened, softened. In the distance, the sea whispered its steady song, its waves brushing the shore in long, slow sighs. The breeze wrapped around him like a soft linen cloth, cool and light, carrying the familiar scents of olive wood and warm earth. The olive tree creaked gently as it swayed, a quiet, steady rhythm, as if it were singing a song only the stones could hear. Nicholas allowed his head to rest against the curve of the tree. His hands relaxed in his lap, the empty satchel a soft weight beside him. His thoughts loosened, softened, slipped gently away like pebbles sinking beneath the clear stream. There was no need to return, no need to rise, no need to move beyond this quiet space. Only the breeze, only the soft hum of the earth, only the long, slow breath of a peaceful world. Nicholas drifted there, wrapped in stillness, carried by the quiet pulse of the ancient land, as the gentle rhythm of the mountains, the sea, the stones, and the trees whispered softly around him. And slowly, quietly he let himself fall into rest.